In 2017, the Human Rights Campaign conducted a survey called the Health Equality Initiative. In this survey, they found that 70% of transgender respondents had reported experiencing some form of discrimination while in a healthcare setting. This can lead to potentially fatal consequences. As a bisexual woman, I've seen firsthand the pain that stigma can cause to others, and stigma can prevent transgender people from accessing the life-saving care that they need, especially in the proper amount of time. The best way to resolve this issue is by adding LGBTQ+ curriculum into medical schools. So please give me your attention today while I discuss why this is such an issue of importance, why in particular LGBTQ+ curriculum is the solution, and how, in the end, this will benefit the medical system as a whole for everyone. Let's begin with discussing why transgender healthcare inequalities are an issue of consequence. Discrimination often makes it where transgender people don't feel comfortable putting themselves in the same vulnerable situation, especially with a medical care provider, continually. I mean, would you? And that means it's no surprise that the American Medical Student Association found that 1 in every 5 transgender people had reported putting off or completely discontinuing an attempt to access healthcare within the last year because of discrimination. The consequence of this is that people will die because they don't get the healthcare that they need in time. And of course, they have a very valid fear preventing them from doing so. In addition, medical professionals that can't separate their duty to their patient from their own personal feelings will end up putting the patient at risk because they aren't putting the same effort towards diagnosis and treatment that's being given to other patients. However, anti-discrimination policies already exist in hospitals, which means that they obviously aren't providing what's needed to solve this issue. This proposes the next topic of discussion of what the solution really is. In 2011, Stanford researchers surveyed 176 medical schools throughout the United States and Canada. They wanted to see how much time was being spent discussing LGBTQ+ topics in their curriculum, and shockingly, they found on average only 5 hours was spent on LGBTQ+ topics in their curriculum, and on average that mostly just focused on sexual orientation, not gender identity. Discrimination often comes from a place of ignorance, so by increasing the amount of time and the depth that's spent on LGBTQ+ topics, a lot of the internal biases these medical students hold will be dispelled and will no longer later result in discriminatory behavior towards transgender patients. For example, the Boston University School of Medicine held an endocrinology course where they added transgender health into the curriculum. At the end of the course, the students reported a 70% decrease in discomfort treating transgender patients. This shows that education is a key to stopping discrimination. However, we should lastly discuss how addressing transgender healthcare inequalities benefits the system as a whole. Inclusive education breeds inclusive treatments at hospitals. Hospitals will be able to treat patients more accurately. For example, the system right now sees certain tests like mammograms or pregnancy tests as sex-specific, so transgender people often get their results delayed or just completely canceled because of the discrepancy between their sex on record and the way they visually present their gender. So a transgender man that's in need of a mammogram could catch breast cancer much faster because they're able to get the treatment they need and provide it in time. And this ability to treat diverse bodies benefits the system as a whole, because when you think about it, what's the difference between a transgender man in need of a mammogram and a cis man that have developed gynecomastia and is also in need of a mammogram? By being able to treat one more accurately, you're able to benefit the other as well. However, the problem with this is that this also reverses in reverse. The inability to treat one creates a scenario where the other is inadvertently hurt as well, regardless of the intent to. And this shows that you should let your voice be heard in support of transgender and LGBTQ+ topics being included and more accurately covered in medical schools. In conclusion, we can no longer ignore how transgender healthcare inequalities crack the foundation of our healthcare system as a whole. Thank you for your time and attention today. There are real people out there that die because they're unable to get the care they needed because healthcare inequalities make them too afraid or unable to access the treatment that they need. This is why you need to raise your voice in protest of the current system and advocate for the changes you wish to see. Let your voice be heard that you wanted to see more LGBTQ plus topics in medical schools, and together we can fill in the cracks of our system, and together we won't let anyone slip through the cracks in the future.